Hello, today we're going to talk about the Roman Forum, the Colosseum, the Pantheon, the Circus Maximus, and Palatine Hill.
The Roman Forum, or Forum Romanum, was a central site in ancient Rome for religious, political, and social activities. People started meeting there around 500 BC. It was located between Palatine Hill and Capitoline Hill and was home to several temples and monuments. The Roman Forum is now a popular touristic place. Initially, the Forum was used for shopping, but later it became a place for public events. Historians think public events first started in the Roman Forum around 500 BC, when the Roman Republic began. Over many centuries, the Forum grew and more buildings were built to host gatherings. During the Julius Caesar's rule, the Forum became too crowded, so he built a new Forum to provide more space right next to it. This site was versatile and used for multiple functions. For example, elections were held, people gave speeches in public, gladiator matches took place, religious ceremonies were performed. Some famous structures in the Roman Forum are Senate House, also known as the Curia, was the council house for the Roman Senate and hosted political events. The first temple of Saturn was constructed around 498 BC. It was dedicated to Saturn, the god of agriculture. The Arch of Titus was built in 81 AD by Emperor Domitian to honor his brother Titus for the victory in the siege of Jerusalem. The Temple of Vesta, dedicated to the goddess of hearth, home, and family, was circular in shape. The rostra was a platform for speeches. Temple of Castor and Pollux was finished in 484 BC. It was built in honor of Castor and Pollux. And the Sacra Via was the main road in the Roman Forum that connected important sites. The Colosseum east of Roman Forum was built by Emperor Vespasian as a gift to Romans around AD 70-72. In AD 80, the Colosseum was opened by Vespasian's son Titus with 100 days of games. Around centuries of use, the arena was neglected and used for building materials until the 18th century. Despite two-thirds of it being destroyed, the Colosseum is still a popular tourist spot and a symbol of Rome's history. The Colosseum was dedicated in 80 CE by Titus with 100 days of games. Domitian added the uppermost story in 82 CE. It is a freestanding structure made of stone and concrete, measuring 620 by 513 feet, and using barrel vaults and ground vaults. The amphitheater seated 50,000 spectators and had a retractable awning. The Colosseum was built to revitalize Rome after a tumultuous year.
For over 2 millennia, the Pantheon has stood for Rome's magnificence. Its history is closely connected to how the everlasting city has evolved over the ages. The finest Renaissance builders, including Raphael, were greatly influenced by the Pantheon and desired to rest there eternally. The temple was constructed in 27 BC by Marco Hispano Agrippa, the first emperor Augustus' friend, son-in-law and partner. Emperor Hadrian reconstructed the Pantheon, which must have been smaller than the present one, sometime between 118 and 125 AD. Hadrian ignored Agrippa's strategy when he rebuilt it, turning the structure 180 degrees around and creating a huge porticoed area in front of the new temple. He inscribed an inscription honoring Agrippa as a builder of a pediment, which is still visible today. Emperor Hadrian did not care whether his name was on a monument that already said what he felt. The Byzantine Emperor Phocas gave the Pantheon to Pope Boniface IV, after it was closed and abandoned for the first time by the Christian emperors and then pillaged by the barbarians in 609 AD. The temple was dedicated to Santa Maria ad Martius by Pope Boniface IV, who also had the bones of 28 unidentified martyrs removed here from the tombs, giving the shrine its new name. The allusion to a general Christian community was meant to contrast with the previous pagan homage to all Rome's gods. The 600 meters long by and 140 meters wide Circus Maximus is the largest spectacle edifice of antiquity and among the grandest of all time. Legend has it that the rape of Sabine women took place there and very beginning of the city. The broad valley between the Palatine and the Aventine hills, known as Valle Murcia, was utilized for chariot racing during the Tarquin king's reign, but a true brick circus wasn't constructed until Julius Caesar. The gladiatorial games and the competition held at the Circus were the two most popular competitive events among the Roman populace. The people of Rome soon began to admire the chariot drivers, and since the chariots were divided into different stables according to color, green, blue, red, and white, the spectators also separated themselves on the circus steps according to the color grouping their favorite belonged to. Events related to political, social, and religious life of the city, such as triumphant demonstrations, processions, and public executions, were also made possible by the spaciousness of the valley floor. Following multiple fires that destroyed the Circus Maximus, it was nearly completely reconstructed during the Trajan era, when the majority of the structures that are still visible today were completed. Several interventions by succeeding emperors, such as the magnificent construction of the enormous obelisk that Constance II brought to Rome in 357 AD and is currently located in the Lateran. Up until the early decades of the 6th century, the circus continued to operate. After serving as an agricultural region, it was home of the gasometer plants, warehouse, factories, artisan stores, and residents beginning of the 19th century. Construction of the primary didn't commence until the 1900s. The 2016 competition of the research allowed the enhancement of the body knowledge regarding the monuments and the restoration. It is possible to explore the passages that led to the cava entering the archaeological area. Once outdoors, it is possible to follow the old pavers between the several moons that once housed tiny offices, inns, and shops. The 12th century medieval Torre della Molletta was also redeveloped in the region, requiring a different consolation project in the addition of the preservation of old walls. The upper floor, which was the magnificent views of the archaeological site and internal staircase leading there, lets you fully comprehend the scope of the circus. While the use of interactive visualization technology has never been used before in such a large outdoor area, it is possible to choose a new experience that allows you to visit the circus in all of its historical phases thanks to an innovative enhancement project of visual reality. One of the oldest sections of Rome's, Palatine Hill, rises 40 meters, 130 feet, above the Roman Forum, and it is the most central of 7 hills that are well known. Palatine Hill is considered to be the birthplace of the Italian capital and is believed to have been inhabited since year 1000 BC. During the Republican period, Roman citizens belonging to upper class settled in Palatine Hills and built subterraneous palaces, of which important traces are still preserved. The Roman mythology tradition speaks of a cave on Palatine Hill that was home to Luperca, the she-wolf that looked after Romulus and Remus. The story goes that brothers chose to build a city on the riverbank when they grew older, but Romulus killed Remus and established Rome instead, after they couldn't agree on certain aspects of the plan. Views from Palatine Hill are hundreds of ruins of majestic buildings designed for the upper classes of Roman society, and they can be found atop Palatine Hill. While the entire scenario is stunning, the following are the few details that can call for further consideration. Domus Flavia, the magnificent mansion of Emperor Domitian, ordered the construction of Domus Flavia in 81 BC as a public and official dwelling. Some portions of the massive buildings are still visible.
House Flavia, one of Palatine Hill's best preserved structures in this simply constructed home from the 1st century BC. The remnants of the frescoes and mosaics that once adorned the walls and ceiling can still be seen. House of Augustus, constructed as Octavian Augustus' personal abode, this two-story home still contains many of these priceless and vibrant murals that once covered its walls. Farnese Gardens, one of the first botanical gardens built in Europe, These gardens were designed in the middle of the 16th century on the site of the Palace of Tiberius. Hippodrome of Domitian, whether the stadium was intended to be utilized as a racetrack or only as a garden is uncertain, given its resemblance to a Roman circus. The Palatine Museum is a tiny museum that displays a number of finds that were made during excavations on the hill. Sculptures, murals, mosaics, and other artifacts from Palatine Hill's heyday can be found there. The finest aerial views of the Roman Forum are available from Palatine Hill, a stroll through ancient Rome.